welcome to the panel Ambassador Lawal, who's the Deputy High Commissioner to the UK, and thank you very much for joining us, Ambassador. And also Clement Nwankwo. Now, Clement has done some excellent work in Nigeria and has really been leading the charge, I think, on many of the consultations and supporting them, organizing them. And in fact, the questionnaires in your packs are thanks to him, and the plaque as well. Poor Clement, we have given you the really tough task of summing up the morning, which is probably your biggest challenge of 2013. So without further ado, Clement, over to you for your summing up.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. I think the tough task was actually with the chair of the previous session, Banjoko, who took dictatorial powers in vacating His Excellency the Deputy Speaker off from the high table, as well as the key members of the National Assembly who have given lead to the discussions on constitution review. I think when people look at what's going on in the National Assembly, particularly in the House of Representatives, with the amendments to the Constitution, they see a lot of leadership. A lot of people, the Deputy Speaker made the point that they took a risk in asking me to be in the technical lead of work in the National Assembly. But I think that the credit actually goes to the House, goes to the Deputy Speaker, and the members of the National Assembly who have shown a great willingness to take things forward with the review of the Constitution. The House of Representatives, particularly when it came into office in June 2011, gave Nigerians an indication of where it was headed when it said to the Nigerians for the first time that they were prepared to bring about changes. And they spelled out for themselves a 4-year agenda of legislative change in Nigeria, creating for the first time a legislative agenda. And I think that for a lot of us in civil society, we have been encouraged by the work of the National Assembly, by the work of the House of Representatives to bring about change. Certainly there's been negative sides, but that is expected in a House where you have 360 members. But overall, the leadership of the National Assembly has shown courage. And sometimes our colleagues in civil society say, where did the idea of People's Public Session across the 360 federal constituencies come from? I was told, just like everybody else, that this is what the House has decided. And the Deputy Speaker was the one who actually gave that leadership to say, look, this is what I want. And a lot of us who were in the committee were saying, how can you achieve this? But the drive that has come from the House shows and has justified the decision of the House to give leadership to this. And I think a lot of Nigerians are quite impressed and happy about the way things have panned out. Now, the summaries that we have today looks at, of course, the major focus of this meeting has been on the question of the review of the Constitution and the issues identified in the templates of the House in going into the constituencies. But I think that from the initial comments made by the chair of Chatham House, he made the point really that the meeting is on the record, which is really that we were being captured. And I think that a lot of people who have made inputs and contributions in this meeting have actually spoken their minds and said the things that they would say, whether on record or off the record. If we look at the discussions, first of all, we started with the presentation by His Excellency the Deputy Speaker, who made the point or traced a little bit of the constitutional development of Nigeria, pointing out, of course, that some of it has been dictated more by the shenanigans of the military who had been in power. And the Deputy Speaker, you would think he was actually speaking as a civil society activist when he made the point, the language about the beginning of the words in the Constitution, we the people. And a lot of us in civil society make the point as well that we think it is a lie. Deputy Speaker made that point very much in his own keynote address and talked about the agitations for a sovereign national conference, and points out that the idea of a sovereign national conference sounds very romantic, but in reality, when you look at the document, the Constitution, it is not contemplated within the Constitution that there can be any other way of amending the Constitution. What I get from listening to members of the National Assembly is that they would love, like every other Nigerian, to see a constitution that satisfies everybody's yearnings and aspirations. But in terms of what exists on ground today, in terms of what is contemplated, what the House of Representatives has done is provide the opportunity that is closest enough to what you would call a referendum, which is what the People's Public Sessions has achieved. And when we look beyond the House, the Senate, for instance, has even taken quite a lot of steps as well, going to the different districts of members of the Senate to again listen to people and get their views. They haven't come up with a template in the way that the House has, but they've taken a lot of the views from their various districts and come up with a position on where things are headed. And the Deputy Speaker made the point in his presentation that the membership of the committee is as diverse as can be. 51 members, cutting across different interests, minorities, women, and geopolitical spread as much as possible. Each state of the Federation is represented in that committee, and there are 36 states plus the FCT, making it 37, as well as all of the interests that he enumerated. And the committee has taken recommendations from Nigerians through memoranda, has publicized unprecedentedly, I would say, its activities so that Nigerians know exactly what is going on. And then the templates were put out, and Nigerians on November 10, 2012, voted. The voting has been collated. There are still a few observations being made by members on the voted template, and I'm sure the committee, when it gets back, would be able to announce a date for the presentation. The inputs from Dr. Ahmed Lawan had also looked at what the issues were in terms of what is going on in the Senate, but also much more beyond that, the issues related to of importance. And he mentioned specifically the local government reform question, and he pointed out that that's really quite key to the issues related to amendments. He points out as well that there are issues related to the extent of autonomy for local governments, raising, and this was coming through a lot of the discussions, to what extent you can grant autonomy to local governments given the capacity concerns and questions. Before Senator Lawan's comments, there was the point, the intervention and statement by Honorable Abike Dabiri, who chairs the committee on diaspora. And a key point, really, and I think you could see the applause at the end of her speech, looking at the great achievements of Nigerians in diaspora and pointing out that, unfortunately, sometimes the few activities of the not-so-good limits the ovation that should come with the huge achievements that have been made. But overall, I think that when you look at all of the debates, there were different interventions on the debates. A couple of the participants in this room raised quite a lot of issues, and I'll just go to the issues that were raised. One, the issue of diaspora voting, which seemed quite popular. Two, the issue related to the independence of the Independent National Electoral Commission, the settlement of election disputes, issues related to the state's independent electoral commissions, issues related to whether, and I think this point was made, I think it was Math who made the point about there's so much coming out here indicating that there's been a lot of consultations, a lot of intention and determination to get people to participate in this, to be sure that we don't also thereby raise a lot of expectations and find that we have to respond to all of these expectations. But certainly there is a lot of expectations raised by the National Assembly in trying to be as open as possible with this process. And it's going to be a question how this is managed. There were questions that related to creation of states. There were questions related, and just on the question of creation of states, I think the Deputy Speaker made the point quite aptly that the National Assembly has no hidden agenda. What didn't come through, and I think the question wasn't asked, but what didn't come through is really the fact that there is no request for creation of states before the National Assembly as we speak. So the National Assembly isn't looking at the issue. If you look at the issue of states creation, the Constitution is quite clear that it must originate from the areas affected. Members who are representing the areas who are elected have to vote before, and then such a request is sent to the Independent National Electoral Commission, who shall conduct a referendum. It is the result of that referendum that goes to the National Assembly. As we speak, there is no request before the National Assembly for creation of states. So I do not believe that that discussion is going on in the National Assembly about whether states should be created or not. One of the key points, and I'll stop there as well, one of the key points is the issue of settler indigenship in Nigeria. And I think from the discussions that is raised here, the issue of citizenship, whether Nigerians who are resident in a particular area should or should not be described as citizens of the area. This is one of the key points that comes up from the discussions. But overall, I think there's been a very boisterous debate, very boisterous discussion, as can be expected. And what is quite clear from this room, and I think it's something that the honorable members and the senator who are in this room take back to Nigeria, that there is a huge interest among Nigerians outside of the country who want to see change. And I think it was made quite aptly, the issue is not the absence of human resources or natural resources. It's a question that we find Nigerians who can give leadership to the country, and that is where the challenge is. And as a civil rights activist who works closely with members of the National Assembly, we keep making the point that this country needs leadership. If we find that from the National Assembly, it will be wonderful. And I think that we see a lot of that coming up now and again. But in terms of getting the executive to be more committed to the issues that are of concern to Nigerians, issues of corruption, issues of focus on development, that is very, very lacking and very, very absent. And I think that Nigerians who want to see change should continue to push for that change to happen. Thank you.
Clement, thank you so much. Amazingly, you did that in 10 minutes. That was quite something. So thank you very much for that excellent summary. That will help us in our report a great deal. I would like to welcome Ambassador Oluwatoyin, Kayode, Lawal, to the podium. Thank you very much, Deputy High Commissioner, for joining us. I understand the High Commissioner is in Nigeria at the moment, so could not be here. I should have mentioned, actually, when I started that I know on your agendas it says that Alex Vines would be chairing this. Unfortunately, he's unwell today. I think we're at that time of year where everybody's immune systems is kind of saying, enough of this British winter. Anyway, but Deputy High Commissioner, over to you for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. The Deputy Speaker, House of Reps, Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha, Senator Ahmed Lawan, ranking members of the House of Reps, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, our appreciation goes to the management of the Royal Institute of International Affairs, otherwise known as Chatham House, for creating this window of opportunity for beaming the light on perhaps a most crucial issue, that affects democracy and good governance in Nigeria today. We appreciate that, and we also want to use this opportunity to implore the Chatham House to try to kind of synergize, establish a symbiotic relationship with the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. This, I think, will create a synergy that would also enable the Institute to further understand the nitty-gritty of Nigerian politics and all those things that are germane to good governance and the sustenance of our fledgling democracy in Nigeria. We want the Institute to take a good note of that. Again, it's been said over and over along the line that it was the crisis of legitimacy that actually gave birth to this issue of constitutional review. Crisis of legitimacy, crisis of ownership. Nigerians want to say that it is not their constitution. It is a constitution given to them by the military, as a result of which, a position has been taken by the National Assembly to actually go to town and feel the pulse of the nation. And they now took a decision to do this review, which is why we are here. Amongst the things, that would naturally make one feel very comfortable with what we are doing today is the fact of debate, the reality of debate. Because debate is part of life, is an aspect of life that actually makes things so easy for everybody. It is a vehicle for inclusivity. It makes everybody part of what is going on. It is not a situation where some people are simply isolated. They take decisions on behalf of people. Of course, we have democracy going on in Nigeria, and you can see a demonstration of that. We have the speaker, the ranking members here. In spite of their very tight schedule, they are here to, attend to our needs, to tell us what steps are being taken to ensure that these things are done in a holistic manner, in a manner that everybody will be part of it at the end of the day. So to that extent, we can see that a constitutional review is not a child's play. It's a Herculean task. From the gamut of issues that have been highlighted, throughout these sessions that we've been having, you can see that it's a very serious matter, and that is the way they have taken it. And for me, as a career diplomat, I would, not stop without mentioning the fact that the government itself, has actually keyed into this matter so well, and you can also figure it out within the framework of the transformation agenda of the government, because the government is aware that now people are asking questions. Nigerians are no longer what they used to be. Everybody wants, to be part of the interconnectedness of global politics. In those days, you can do whatever you're doing, nobody cares. But now the world is a global village. The next state wants to know what is going on there. And in actual fact, there is that kind of symbiosis. We are all part of that kind of human family. So it doesn't matter whether we're in Nigeria or we are in Ghana or we are in, the UK. So everybody wants to be part of it. So that is why we are now saying that government should take note of all this, and indeed they are doing that. So that's why we are here today, and we appreciate what they are saying. I don't want to start going over what they have been pointing out to us, but of course, I want to use this opportunity to make some important points in my own capacity as the Deputy High Commissioner of Nigeria to the United Kingdom. For example, Honorable Abike Dabiri mentioned that Nigerian missions, probably don't have, a register of Nigerians. I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that from the very inception, Nigerian missions have opened registers for Nigerians resident in our host countries. But the problem is always a Herculean task, to get Nigerians to come and register. You know, you will find out that Nigerians are in the habit of not going to either the High Commission or the embassy, you know, but for the most part, you know, they only come when they have problems. Yeah, no, that is, no, that's not true. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. No.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Excuse me. I got to the UK. I got to the UK in April last year, and from what I've heard, you know, since I arrived in the UK, I've seen that people are commending the Nigerian High Commission in the UK, that they are doing a wonderful job, and everybody has acknowledged this. To that extent, I believe if you talk of access, you know, that the Nigerian High Commission is not being accessible, you are very far from the truth. You know, if you're talking, maybe, I don't know what obtained in the past, but at least as far as I'm concerned, what is going on, citizen diplomacy is at work, and it's really working. But over and above all else, I think all of us should do a rapid, you know, reorientation. You know, whatever you're doing that you know is not good enough, you know, try to, you know, reverse course, you know, turn a new leaf and be part of the Nigerian project, so that at the end of the day, no, we're not going to invite you. It is your responsibility. You have to be part of the project. It's the Nigerian project. You know, that is what we are having here. You know, what we are having here is part of it. You can't say you don't know what is going on. You know?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd appreciate it if we could just let the Deputy High Commissioner finish his remarks. There'll be time after the session for a bit of interaction in this room. We'd just like to get to the wrapping up stages here, please. Thank you very much.
So, in any case, you know, I've made my point. You know, I will implore you as much as possible, be part of the project. If you have any problem, come to the High Commission. We are available, we are accessible. Whatever you think we can do for you, we are ready to deliver, you know. So I want to once again thank everybody for being part of this project, and we should all at least try to convince ourselves that Nigeria is God's project, and we cannot afford to abandon it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy High Commissioner. I would just like to take a moment, please, to thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I know you've done this on your own time, and it's been a long session. This is a really complex process in Nigeria. It is a really difficult process. And it's just really valuable having your input in this. And however this, you know, whether you got to speak today, whether you follow up with email, that's been really valuable, and we really appreciate your time. And more broadly on the Africa program, because we do a lot of work on Nigeria, we wouldn't actually be able to do this without your participation, your input, your ideas, the insights that you share with us. So we really appreciate you coming to our events and just getting in touch with us. I'd also really like to thank our National Assembly members for coming all the way from Abuja and spending so much time. That was a long and intensive panel, and we really appreciate you coming to do this. That was very good of you. Thank you. I'd like to thank also the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and in particular the British High Commission in Abuja, who supported this event, who sponsored this event, and we really appreciate that. And there's Osara. Osara, do you want to just stand up, wave your hand? Osara is over from the British High Commission in Abuja. If you do want to make contact with him, just give him your card. Yes, please don't forget to give your questionnaires to my colleague Chris. I have no doubt, I hope very much that we'll see you again soon at another event. Thank you again for your time. Thank you, Clement. Thank you, Deputy High Commissioner.
Thank you.